The witness has not been has not taken the oath. Mr. Carrim, will you swear or affirm? You will swear.
I swear.
Okay. Do you swear that the evidence you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? If so, raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you. I see you leaning forward. Are the mics not?
Let me just get
bring them
yeah.
closer so that you don't have to keep moving forward and backwards.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Carrim, just to explain the process, the first part of this process will just involve me leading you through your statement without any intrusive questioning. So in the first stage of the process, you don't need to be suspicious of me. There will come a point at which you do need to be suspicious of me. We will give you warning when that point is reached. But so that you know where we're going and how it is going to run, just know that until we reach the end of your statement, I'm not going to ask you any questions that are of any intrusive nature or designed to trap you in any way. The purpose of the first part of the questioning is merely to enable you to have the opportunity to put your version on record without being interrupted or disturbed. So there are really two ways in which you can do it. If you would like simply to read your statement into the record, we could do that. We could do it that way. If you would like me to ask you a couple of questions to facilitate that process, we can do it. We can do it that way. You must choose.
I think, Counsel, you can proceed.
Okay. So to begin with, let me just clarify that you have what you need to have in front of you. You should have 3 files, a small file with your statement in it.
Yeah.
We'll call that the statement file. And then 2 larger files which have exhibits in them.
Yes, I've got them.
Great. If we can start with the statement file, and maybe start at the end of the statement, just confirm, first of all, that on page 11 the signature is yours.
Yes.
And can you confirm that the contents of the statement are true and correct?
Yes, they're true and correct.
Then if we can take the Commission through the statement, going back to page 1, in pages 1 to 3, you set out certain concerns that you have and reservations of rights. The statements, the paragraphs speak for themselves. Is there anything you would want to add or emphasize in that regard?
No, Chair. No, Counsel, sorry.
Then if we move to paragraph 4 onwards, you describe your relationship with Medicare 24 Tshwane District and Mr. Matlala. Maybe if I can ask you to deal first with, essentially to read paragraphs 4 to 7, which deal with your relationship with Mr. Matlala, before we get to the contract with Medicare 24.
Thank you, Counsel. So in this section, I deal with the nature of the relationship. I deal with the nature of the relationship with Medicare Tshwane. This will provide the Commission with inside detail and into the topics identified in Rule 10.6. As I have stated elsewhere, I provided funding to Medicare 24 to the amount of 10 million rand. At some stage, to the best of my recollection, during June 2024, I received a call from Mr.
Sorry, Mr. Carrim, it sounds like you are too close to the mic here.
Okay. I'm just worried that you won't hear me from here. Is it fine from there?
It usually gets indicated to us if there are problems with the sound. Just go. Yes.
Am I audible? Am I audible now?
Yes.
Can I suggest the problem may be that there are 2 microphones on? Maybe switch one of them on.
We've always used them.
Oh.
Yes. No, switch it on.
Can we switch it on?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. Yes, Mr. Carrim.
At some stage, to the best of my recollection, during June 2024, I received a telephone call from Mr. Matlala requesting a meeting with me. I know Vusi in the private, I know Vusi as we both operate in the private security sector. I'm a director and shareholder of Fusion Tactical Team, which is my security company. Prior to this, to the best of my recollection, I had no engagement, relationships, or dealing with Vusi beyond knowing in a general sense who he is.
And then from paragraphs 8 and 9, you describe Mr. Matlala's approach to you in relation to his tender with SAPS and wanting finance or funding from you. Can you read 8 and 9, and if there's anything you want to amplify, please do.
So, at the meeting, Vusi, he had obviously told me he's the director of Med24 and that he had won this contract to provide medical services to SAPS. He then needed or required funds to perform under the tender as he had overcapitalized on the establishment of his tender and therefore encountered cash flow problems. He insisted that he was geared up for rendering the services in respect of the tender. He invited me to see his business premises in Pretoria. I visited the business premises and I confirmed it was state of the art. I was impressed from what I had seen, and I could appreciate that Mr. Matlala could spend a considerable amount of monies in the capitalization of this tender. At the same time, when I visited the site, I then met also a Michael van Wyk, who was introduced to me as the CEO of Medcare24. Michael advised that he owned the Medcare24 franchise and that Mr. Matlala was a franchisee. Michael had, during our discussions, confirmed that he'd be assisting Vusi in operating and executing this tender. At the same time, I needed to verify this. I then reached out to a friend of mine, Mr. Mkhwitzi, who is from Afrikaans as well, and who's someone that's known, who's connected. I then asked him to please verify and check if really this tender exists, and can he come back to me? Mr. Mkhwitzi then agreed to check for me. He reverted and said, yes, it is a valid contract. Vusi and I agreed that if I advanced the 10 million, I would be paid an additional amount of 10 million over a 3-year contract period. The repayment would be made at an equivalent of 10% of all payments received until the amount of 20 million was going to be paid. In terms of our agreement, we then set out the payment structure, which is attached. After July 2024, I would call Vusi from time to time and ask him whether he had received a signed SLA from SAPS and when can I expect a copy of this agreement between Medcare and SAPS, as we all had an agreement confirming our agreement. Because we had an agreement which was not signed, we agreed that we'll sign the agreement once the SLA was signed by SAPS. He experienced some delays in obtaining the SLA from SAPS, but there was no cause for concern as Med24 had already commenced in rendering services to them. This seemed quite plausible to me, as in my experience, formal contracts often lag behind and before implementing the contract. I asked him if he had issued any invoices and when could I start expecting payments. He then stated to me that he stated to me he would commence payments upon receipt of sufficient funds from SAPS, including the payments due to me. Towards the end of 2024, we had still not got any payments in from what Vusi told me, and I began pressing Vusi to provide me with invoices and payments details from SAPS. At this stage, I was becoming despondent due to the non-payment from Vusi. I again then reached out to Mr. Brown Mkhwitzi. I then asked Brown to please check if Vusi is really receiving work and if the contract was going to be paid. Brown confirmed that he is delivering and we will be paid. During about December 2024, After being pressed to start making payments, Vusi advised that I would commence receiving payments shortly. This was a relief to me. Shortly thereafter, in January 2025, Vusi contacted me, requested further money to service the tender. I advised Vusi that I could not provide further funding at this stage because I was not receiving any payments towards the funds advanced, and that Ziggy needed cash for other projects and ventures. I was also concerned that the 10 million rand had already been advanced and I have not received a single payment. I would then, to verify this, contact Brown, for example, inquire whether payments were being made under the tender. Brown would always revert back to me based on what he allegedly knew, and also I had no way of how Brown was verifying this. I need to place that on record. During these exchanges, Brown confirmed that the tender was still in operation and that payments were in progress. In February 2025, payments started trickling in. By mid-March 2025, I received net payment of 1.75 million, which was paid into the Mies Investments business account. Before any other payments could be received unexpectedly in March, Vusi sent me a message regarding the cancellation of Medcare 24's contract. I informed Brown of what Vusi informed me and requested him to find out what was happening. Brown then agreed to inquire. Brown then later sent me a message stating that he had spoken to the minister. Brown advised me that in order to keep Vusi, I should inform Vusi that I have a good and direct relationship with the minister and his office. I advised Brown that this was a joke because I had no relationship with either the minister or his office. Brown's reasoning was that I should make Vusi believe that I have a relationship with the minister's office and that he would communicate directly with the minister's officers if, when, and required. Brown was clear that this was required and calculated to make Vusi believe that my involvement and my assistance with the minister and his office would be crucial, and therefore Vusi would therefore need me to pay me my money, or would need to pay me my money. In truth, I did not have any relationship with the minister. I then advised Brown this did not make sense to me without disclosing his close relationship with Vusi, which I only picked up after the commission, that Brown and Vusi were communicating, and I did not know about that. And then Brown advised that I should trust him, that I would be paid these monies owed to me if I followed and did what he suggested. I was extremely concerned since the cancellation of the contract with Vusi meant that Ziggy stood to lose the money it advanced. I needed a lever with Vusi to try to get paid and agreed to follow Brown's advice. Whenever issues arose around Vusi requiring information or clarity, I would send the same to Brown or call him. And when he responded, I would send the same to Vusi. I confirmed Brown was extremely confident about his strategy. As I was desperate, I agreed to go along with Brown's proposal. All messages referred to in the interactions with the minister, his officers, were sent to me by Brown, who advised that I send them to Vusi. I had no influence with the minister or any influence over him. There's a concern. The same message that I sent to Vusi in May 2025 in terms of Brown's instructions was, now I have learned, was sent to Vusi by Brown on the 4th of March. So the same message that Brown sent to Vusi on the 4th of March, Brown then sends me that message on the 6th of May, 2 months later, to send to Vusi, which I did, but I only realized this after the commission. So it was clear that both of them were playing me, and I could not understand why Brown would advise me to resend it to Vusi. Thereafter, Vusi started to avoid me. At this stage, the Medicare 24 was being reported to the media to have been terminated by the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service. Vusi sent me messages regarding the cancellation of this tender, which made no sense to me for the following reasons. The SEP's contract was reported to have been terminated on the 12th of April. The termination letter of the SEP's contract was sent on the 12th of May. The minister had no influence or authority in the termination as the National Commissioner terminated it. Every undertaking and promise by Brown to meet with the minister or his office did not transpire. Again, with hindsight, I believe Brown was lying about the influence he had. I myself have no direct relationship to the minister. Instead, I was asked by Brown to continue sending messages to Vusi assuring him of a meeting with the minister, which I did, but nothing came of it. Vusi advised that his attorneys were handling the termination and that the amounts owed for work would be paid to Medicare 24. Despite this, no money was paid to me. Much later, I realized that Brown was misrepresenting his influence with the minister. I was quite upset about this because I know Brown for the last 18 years from African. And I've always been assisting him and his foundations. In hindsight, it is clear Brown was playing me. I also suspect that he was not acting alone and that Vusi did so too. When one considers the messages, it is clear that I was caught in the middle of them. Vusi knew very well that I had no contacts, and Brown knew that I turned to him because I became reliant on his advices. Vusi ceased responding to me around May 2025. I can confirm that I, Ziggy, am approximately out of pocket of 8.25 million rand. This excludes the profit of the monies advanced to Medicare 24. Should I continue, Council?
Certainly. I'll ask clarificatory questions at the end.
Okay.
So I think continue through your statement.
I have to now turn to deal with remaining topics set out in the notice. The nature of the relationship with Minister Senzo Mkhunu. I have no relationship with the minister, whether professional or personal. The nature of relationship with General Feroz Khan. I have no relationship with General Feroz Khan. I know him as we sometimes pray at the same mosque in Houghton when I'm in the Joburg area. The nature and extent of the relationship with Khotle Specialist. This is Brown's wife's company. I normally assist his wife and him through Khotle Specialist. So Brown's wife has a company. She does cleaning. She does gardening services. She sometimes does my gardening services. She does some cleaning for me. She looks after my plant equipment. She cleans the plant equipment. And this has been happening way before this. I've always been assisting Brown and his wife. Regarding the litigation to review and set aside in a tender in the Northwest, they approached me, a few business forums in the Northwest approached Mr. Brown Mkhwitzi and his foundation. I think there was a catering tender at the Department of Northwest, and I must put it on record, I'm not a caterer. They approached me and they requested funding to challenge this tender in court. Now, I'm from the Northwest. I was born in Mafeking, so I'm very close to the people of Northwest. And on many occasions, we have always been marginalized. We've got the highest unemployment rate. We always losing out to jobs like these to people from other provinces. And I don't have an issue with that, but when people from the Northwest are disadvantaged, I take it to my heart. I then agreed to assist Brown with the foundation through these business forums to challenge this in court. And I provided them with some funding, which they then said they will pay back to me. I have often and at no cost helped many individuals and businesses in the Northwest. The nature and extent of my relationship with General Shedrick Sibia, I have no relationship with this individual. In conclusion, I would like to make the following remarks. I have been branded as an enabler due to my relationship with the minister. There is no factual basis to make such a statement. I confirm that I have never had a personal or professional relationship with the minister. I have never spoken to the minister. In fact, when one considers the fact the current Minister of Police only assumed office on the 3rd of July 2024. And the SEP contract was awarded before the tenure of the erstwhile Minister of Police, Becky Taylor. It is clear that it is impossible and as a fact untrue that I could have any pervasive influence over two different ministers of police. In addition, the SEP's contract was cancelled, leaving me out of pocket of approximately 8.25 million. If I were the enabler with a sustainable investment and an interest in the success, the contract would have not been cancelled. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carrim. I'm going to start by asking a few clarificatory questions, but we now reach the end of the sort of friendly side of this engagement. So even though these questions are clarificatory, know that you need to be on your guard going forward. If I understand your statement, you never had a written contract with Medicare 24 Tshwane. At no stage did you ever conclude a written contract with them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what wasn't clear to me was whether you ever saw a written contract between SAPS and Medicare 24. You say at a certain point you hadn't. Was it ever shown to you?
Yes, it was. I have a copy of the SLA. I was given a copy of the SLA.
And when was the SLA given to you?
Late in October sometime, 2024.
Then, if I understand your evidence again, the contract with Medicare 24 was going to be with Ziggy. Ziggy was the vehicle that...
That's correct.
And Ziggy's your company.
Correct.
Then you speak on page 5 of your statement, paragraph 23, of a net repayment of 1.75 million. You say in February 2025, payments started trickling in. By mid-March, I received only a net repayment of 1.75 million, which was paid into Tamiz.
Yes, that's correct, Council.
Now, how was that 1.7? I mean, we have seen two separate payments. A payment on the 4th of February from Medicare of 1.5 million to Tamiz, and a payment on the 17th of March to Tamiz of 1 million by Medicare, which is 2.5 million. My understanding of your evidence, and again, call me out if I'm wrong, is that you get to your net 175 this way. So there's 1.5 that's paid on 4 February. On the same day, from that 1.5, 500,000 is paid to an entity called Lutaga Trading Enterprises.
Correct.
So that's a net 1 million. And from the 1 million that was paid on the 17th of March, 250,000 was paid to Lutaga on the 22nd of March.
That's correct.
And okay, so that is the net 1.75 is derived that way. Then, at various points in your statement, you refer to messages that were exchanged between yourself and Mr. Mkhwitzi. Were these text messages, WhatsApp messages, signal messages? What message? How do you communicate with Mr. Mkhwitzi?
At that time, there was some text, but WhatsApps as well.
Now, you don't attach any of these messages. Are you able to produce them for us?
Council, I'll have to go back into my iCloud and see if they still exist there.
Your iCloud or your WhatsApp archive?
I remember I changed phones. So when you change phones, you sometimes don't have those messages still there.
And when did you change phones?
Changed phones a couple of times, Council.
Yeah, but dates is what I'm interested in.
Okay, well, as soon as new iPhones come out, we're always upgrading. So I think I've changed phones twice since 2024.
But again, dates I'm interested in. When did you?
I can't recall the dates, Council.
Approximately how long have you had your current iPhone?
Current one is just a few months now.
And on your current iPhone, do you not import your old WhatsApp messages for an archive?
No.
But you would cooperate with the Commission in going onto your iCloud to try to retrieve your old WhatsApp communications with Mr. Mkhwitzi?
I'd have to consult my legal team on that, Council, and come back to you.
Well, maybe you can consult over one of the adjournments and come back to us on that score. I've noted your statement about not having a relationship with General Khan. If you go to page 7 of the evidence bundle,
yes,
you'll see that on the 4th of March, Mr. Matlala sent you a report about General Khan being found not guilty in his disciplinary inquiry. Had you discussed General Khan at all with Mr. Matlala?
No, not at all. I have no idea why he sent me this message. He sent me a few News 24 articles, but I didn't even respond to this message when he sent it to me.
No. Thank you. Then, if we go to your statement on page 6, concerning your relationship with the minister and how you misled Mr. Matlala in this regard. You say in paragraph 26, Brown advised me that in order to obtain my monies from Vusi, I should inform Vusi I have a good direct relationship with the minister and or his office. I advised Brown this was a joke. I had no relationship with either the minister or his office. And then Brown explained his reasoning. It was that you should make Vusi believe I have a relationship, that you had a relationship with the office, and you could, and he, Brown, would communicate directly with the minister if and when required. And he seemed to think that if Mr. Matlala believed that you had a relationship with the minister, he'd then want to preserve his relationship with you and would therefore pay you when he could. Is that the broad understanding?
That's the understanding, yes.
Now, I'm trying to understand when all of this happened. So if we go back to paragraph 23 on page 5, we see, you say in February 25 payments started trickling in. By mid-March, I had received only a net payment of 175 million. And then before further payments could be received, and unexpectedly, in March 2025, Vusi sent a message regarding cancellation. So this exchange, this strategy of pretending to have influence with the minister would have happened after the net payments had come in and after Vusi sent you a message about cancellation.
These messages started just after January, around February.
Sorry, I just didn't hear that. I apologize.
When payments started trickling in 2025, towards the end of Feb, the messages, that's when Brown's strategy went into place with the minister.
Let's just go through it. Well, hang on a minute. If we go to 24 and 25, you say, before further payments could be received and unexpectedly in March, Vusi sent me a message regarding cancellation. So Vusi sends you a message about cancellation.
Yes, and at the same time, I think Brown also sent me a message about cancellation. So this was Brown knew about the cancellation as well. So he also sent me a message. regarding the cancellation.
Well, that's not what you say in 25. You say you informed Brown
Yes, I say that.
of what Vusi had informed you.
Yes, but Brown already knew.
Okay, so Brown already knew, but your approach to Brown comes after Vusi tells you about the cancellation.
Yes.
Now, how did you inform Brown? Did you call him? Did you message him?
I called him.
You called him. And he said he would inquire.
Yes.
And then he sent you a message stating that he had spoken to the minister.
Yes.
When is all of this happening? You get a message from Vusi.
This is all happening from from the beginning of March, end of Feb, going into March.
I'm interested in how long this process takes.
It was March, April, up to May, actually.
No. I understand that the process continues, that the process of pretending to have a relationship with the minister continues until May. But I'm interested in this exchange with Brown that persuades you to adopt the strategy of misleading Mr. Matlala about an alleged relationship with the minister. You have a message from Mr. Matlala relating to cancellation. You then inform Brown. When do you inform Brown of this message?
Immediately.
Immediately. And what do you mean immediately? Like the next minute, the next day?
No, on the same day.
Same day.
Same day.
Brown says he's going to inquire. Okay, and then he sends you a message. How long does it take Brown to get back to you? Does he come back to you on the same day, the next day, the next week?
I think about 2 days, 3 days. It wasn't the same day.
Okay. And then what does he say when he comes back to you? Because he says he's spoken to the minister.
Yeah, he just said to me, spoken to the minister, and he said he'll come back to me on details. But what he advised me, he said that in order to obtain my money from Vusi and get more payments, I should continue talking to Vusi, keeping him close to me.
No, I understand the gist of it, but you were... He messages you saying he's spoken to the minister. Presumably you wanted to know what the minister had told him.
I called him back. He said to me he will inform me in due course of what the minister said. He'll come back to me.
And did he ever come back to you and tell you what the minister
said? I kept on asking what did the minister say. Knowing Mr. Mkhwitzi, he kept on saying, no, don't worry, it's going to work. Just be patient. I've spoken to the minister. Just relax. He never gave me any explanations.
But then he says to you, after he's told you that he's spoken to the minister, and after you've asked him what the minister said, and he's ducked and dived a bit, he says, you need to pretend to Mr. Matlala that you have a good relationship with the minister.
Yes.
And you think this is a joke, because you have no relationship with the minister.
Yes, it was a joke at the time, and I told him this.
And again, where was this exchange taking place? Was it on the phone? Was it in messages? Was it in person?
It was in person.
Now, and where was it? Presumably in Mafikeng?
In Mafikeng, yes.
At your house, at your office, at his house?
We met at the office.
Now, he says to you, I mean, he comes up with this suggestion that you believe to be a bit of a joke. But he seems ultimately to persuade you of the wisdom of his plan that you initially thought was a joke.
Yes, I believed that Brown had the influence at that time. On many occasions in the Northwest, especially in the structures of the ANC, Brown would lead the campaigns. He led one of the campaigns in 2017. It was a CR campaign. Brown led it. Again in 2022, he was leading that campaign. So based on how I know him, I believed he had these contacts, and I was convinced that he had those contacts at that time.
So I understand that you believed that he had contacts with the minister, but you'd asked him to give some indication of what the minister had told him, and he had ducked and dived.
Yeah, he just kept on saying, just relax, it's under control, it's under control. Those were his words to me every time I asked him.
Mr. Carrim, you should please wait until...
sorry.
Yes, because when you speak at the same time, there will be transcription problems.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But were you not interested in some detail?
Of course I was, counsel. I was very interested. But what made me believe him is because when we were looking for payments and when we were inquiring about payments, Brown would always have the information about when payment would be made. So I believed when he said things are under control, I just need to be patient and I will get my money.
And when did you inquire with Brown about payments? When had he proven his worth on payments?
I think we'll have to go to the messages with Vusi. So at the same time when I was communicating with Vusi, at the same time I was communicating with Mr. Mkhwitzi.
We'll get there in due course. But essentially when you're communicating when you report material to Vusi about payments, are you reporting what Brown has told you about payments?
Yes, I was. But funny enough, counsel, I need to bring this to your attention. At the same time I asked Brown about payments, Brown would say payments are coming. Mr. Matlala or Cat would ask me about payments, but he would send me screenshots from the police system. Mr. Matlala himself would then send me screenshots from the police system about the payments. So this was strange for me because why would he be asking me? And at that point, I thought maybe he's trying to test me and see do I really have those contacts or not. So the minute I ask him or I report back to him and say, okay, Brown would say payments are coming. I then message Vusi and say payments are coming. Vusi would then send me a screenshot of payments.
So you would tell him payments are coming and then he would respond by sending you a screenshot.
That's correct.
But why would that then be testing you?
I don't know why else he would have done it, because it happens, he asks, I inquire, I come back, I say to him payments are coming. After a day, I'm not sure, we need to check in the messages, a day or after a couple of hours, he then sends me a screenshot from the police system of the payments.
I see. And you...
Can I just ask Mr. Chaskasen, sorry, just so that I understand, you say Mr. Matlala asked you about payments when they would come?
Yeah, he would ask me, when are we getting paid? How are we getting paid?
Yes.
Because he believes I have influence.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Why would Mr. Matlala think that you would know when you're being paid? When his contract was being paid?
Remember, counsel, I gave him the impression that I'm close to the minister in the office and that I have some context inside. So he then thought or believed I would have access to payments. But my real reliance was on Mr. Mkhwitzi.
But on your version in the statement, you only gave that impression after Mr. Mkhwitzi had persuaded you that the only way you were going to get paid after cancellation was by creating that false impression.
No, this had started in Feb, before we got paid. This had started, I was saying February.
So, sorry, again, I must apologize. I didn't hear, there was some distortion. You said it started in Feb.
The messages started in Feb.
Which messages?
Between me and Mr. Matlala on payments.
But in Feb you received your first payment.
Yes. So we were talking about these payments and he believed I had influence.
Mr. Carrim, I think I will go back on my earlier advice that you pull the mics closer. Yeah, we get a distortion when we are too close. Can you please avoid being too close to the mic?
Okay, let me push it back.
Yes.
Let me just go to my statement, Counsel. In 10, I say I reached out to Brown Mkhwitzi.
Yes.
So at that time already, myself and Vusi did have a conversation. And I did say to Vusi that I've checked myself on your tender. I've done my own due diligence. He asked me how. Brown advised me to tell him that I've checked on the SAP system and that it's verified. So from then, Mr. Matlala believed that I had influence.
But sorry, this is at the stage of due diligence. This is at a stage where you are trying to decide for yourself whether you want to risk 10 million of your money with this contract. And so when you go to Mr. Mkhwitzi at that stage, you're going to satisfy yourself, not to satisfy Mr. Matlala.
Correct.
And Mr. Mkhwitzi says to you, rightly, truly or untruly, yes, this contract's on the system. Why would he at that stage advise you to start misrepresenting the nature of your relationship with SAPS?
No, he didn't advise. He said to me, as we move, because Mr. Matlala knew that I was checking. Mr. Matlala was obviously inquisitive. He wanted to know how. And I just said to him, no, I have people. Because Mr. Matlala wanted to know how did I verify this contract? And I said to him, no, I have people. I have people who are connected and they confirmed. So at that point already, Mr. Matlala was aware that I have some people that I can refer to, which was obviously Mr. Mkhwitzi.
So it's back in June 2024 that Mr. Matlala starts thinking that you are connected with SAPS. But that, of course, is after he approaches you for the 10 million.
Yeah.
So he doesn't approach you for the 10 million on the basis of your connections with SAPS. He approaches you for the 10 million because he needs 10 million.
Yes.
Let's go back to the sequence. Payments come in February and March. Mr. Matlala then messages you about potential cancellation. You speak to Brown. Brown says he's going to contact, he messages you to say he'll speak to the minister. Comes back to you, says, look, no, I've spoken to the minister, everything's going to be all right, essentially. You ask him, sorry, I can see you nodding, but we're going to have a transcript at the end of this, so I need you to sort of say yes instead of not. Yeah.
Yes.
You ask him what the minister said. He says, everything will be all right, essentially, you don't need to know now, just trust me.
That's what he said.
He then, at a later stage, a couple of days later, comes to meet you at your offices, if you remember correctly, and tries to persuade you about this scheme of telling Mr. Matlala that you have close connections with the minister, and persuading you that if Mr. Matlala thinks that you have close connections with the minister, that's the way you will get paid, because he will pay you to keep you sweet because of your relationship with the minister.
That's correct. That was his strategy.
You say to him, this is a joke. I don't have a relationship with the minister.
Yes, I did.
So at that stage, you thought you can't say to Mr. Matlala, I've got a relationship with the minister, because you didn't have a relationship with the minister.
Yeah, but I had to do it because I was...
No, I'm getting the chronology. At that stage, you had no intention of telling Mr. Matlala you had a relationship with the minister, because you didn't. Is that a yes?
Can you repeat that, Councillor?
At that stage, when Mr. Mkhwitzi first puts his proposition to you, you think it's a joke? Okay, yes.
Yes.
And at that stage, until he persuades you later, you have no intention of telling Mr. Mkhwitzi you have a close relationship with the minister, because you don't have a close relationship with the minister.
With Mr. Matlala.
Telling Mr. Matlala.
Sorry, Mr. Matlala, not Mr. Mkhwitzi.
No, I did tell him that I have a close relationship.
When did you tell him you have a close relationship with the minister?
Just after Brown informed me to go along with the strategy.
Yes, but before Brown convinced you, you didn't want to do that.
Yes, but I did it. Like I said, I was desperate and I needed to do it.
Now, I understand that Brown ultimately convinces you that you must go with his plan.
Yes.
But when he first raises the plan, you have no intention of going along with it. You're later convinced.
Correct.
Were you convinced at that meeting, or were there subsequent meetings?
No, he convinced me at that meeting.
So you deliberately misrepresented the nature of your relationship with the minister to Mr. Matlala in the hope that this would persuade him to pay you ahead of other potential creditors.
Correct.
And apart from misrepresenting to Mr. Matlala your relationship with the minister, did you ever suggest to him that you had connections in SAPS itself, as opposed to the ministry, and that those connections could help him?
He believed that I had connections in the SAPS. He believed that.
But you say you didn't have connections.
I had no connections.
And your only insight into SAP's internal operations was what Mr. Mkhwitzi relayed to you.
Yes.
Was it you that convinced him that you had connections within SAPS? Was it you that convinced him?
Convinced who? Mr. Matlala?
Mr. Matlala, yes.
He believed.
I get it, get it. You've said so.
Yes, because when he asked about payments, I would revert and give him information on payments from Brown. Yes, he believed that I had.
Did he come to believe because of what you had said to him, or not really?
To me, it seemed as if he believed.
Yes, you've said that 3 times now. I want to know whether that belief was as a result of what you had said to him.
That's correct, Commissioner.
What had you said to him?
I said to him that I have, like I said previously, I have someone who's connected and they'll be able to check for us in the system. And I relied on...
somebody within SAPS.
Yeah, but I relied obviously on Mr. Mkhwitzi.
All right. Thank you.
Can I just understand that answer? Is your answer that you told him that you have connections within SAPS? Because that was a direct question from Mr. Chaskalson, and I'm confused about your answer.
I said I have someone who's connected in SAPS.
You have someone in SAPS itself?
Someone who's connected to SAPS.
Okay, again, still clarificatory, but a different area. If you go to page 7.
7 of
the statement. You say, you're talking essentially about the collapse of your relationship with Mr. Matlala at this point in your statement. And you say, paragraph 30 starts, I confirmed Brown was extremely confident about the strategy. I was desperate. I agreed to go along with Brown's proposal. All messages referred to the interactions with the minister / his officers were sent to me by Brown, who advised I send them to Vusi. So anything that you said purporting to relate to the minister came from Brown?
Yes.
But you pretended that it was your direct information?
Yes.
You had no influence with the minister nor any influence over him. Then you say the same message I sent to Vusi in May 2025, in terms of Brown's instruction, was, I've now learnt, sent by Vusi to Brown on 4 March 2025. Your statement's correct in this regard. I don't think anything significant turns on it, but when you read the statement, you actually read that as was sent by Brown to Vusi, not by Vusi to Brown. What you've got in the statement is correct.
Okay.
This confirms that Brown and Vusi have already exchanged this message, and I cannot understand why Brian would advise me to resend it to Vusi. Thereafter, Vusi started avoiding me. So you say after that May message, where you pretended to have had an interaction with the minister that mirrored something that Mr. Matlala had sent to Mr. Mkhwitzi, he started avoiding you.
Yes.
How did you experience this avoidance?
He stopped responding to texts, or he stopped taking my calls. He just became evasive.
Sorry, he just became evasive?
Evasive, yeah.
Let us take the adjournment at this stage and resume at 11:45. Let's adjourn.